In revisiting the scene of my mother's death, I can remember everyone who was in the stands that day. I remember who wasn't there, too, and what everyone said and didn't say to me. But the first visit to that scene was very bare of details. I remember Chief Pike, our Gravesend chief of police. In later years, I would date his daughter. Chief Pike got my attention only because of what a ridiculous question he asked, and how much more absurd was his elaboration on his question. "Where's the ball?" the police chief asked, after the area had been cleared, as they say. My mother's body was gone, and I was sitting on the bench in Mr. Chickering's lap, his warm-up jacket still over my head. Now, because I liked it that way, because I had put it there. "The ball?" Mr. Chickering said. "You want the fucking ball?" "Well, it's the murder weapon, kind of," Chief Pike said. His Christian name was Ben. "The instrument of death, I guess you'd call it," Ben Pike said. "The murder weapon," Mr. Chickering said, squeezing me as he spoke. We were waiting for either my grandmother or my mother's new husband to come get me. "The instrument of death," Mr. Chickering said. "Jesus Christ, Ben, it was a baseball." "Well, where is it?" Chief Pike said. "If it killed somebody, I'm supposed to see it. Actually, I'm supposed to possess it." "Don't be an asshole, Ben," Mr. Chickering said. "Did one of your kids take it?" Chief Pike asked our fat coach and manager. "Ask them. Don't ask me," Mr. Chickering said. All the players had been made to stand behind the bleachers while the police took photographs of my mother. They were still standing there, peering out at the murderous field through the empty seats. Several townspeople were standing with the players, mothers and dads and ardent baseball fans. Later, I would remember Owen's voice speaking to me in the darkness because my head was under the warm-up jacket. "I'm sorry." Bit by bit, over the years, all of it would come back to me. Everyone who was standing there behind the bleachers and everyone who had gone home. And then I took the warm-up jacket off my head, and all I knew was that Owen Meany was not standing there behind the bleachers. Mr. Chickering must have observed the same thing. "Owen?" he called. "He went home," someone called back. "He had his bike," someone said. I could easily imagine him, struggling with his bike up the Maiden Hill Road, first pedaling, then wobbling, then getting off to walk his bike, all the while in view of the river. In those days, our baseball uniforms were in itchy wool, and I could see Owen's uniform, heavy with sweat, the number 3, too big for his back. When he tucked his shirt into his pants, he tucked in half the number, too, so that anyone passing him on the Maiden Hill Road would have thought he was number 2. I suppose there was no reason for him to wait. My mother always gave Owen and his bike a ride home after our Little League games. Of course, I thought, Owen has the ball. He was a collector. One had to consider only his baseball cards. "After all," Mr. Chickering would say, in later years, "it was the only decent hit the kid ever made, the only real wood he ever got on the ball. And even then it was a foul ball, not to mention that it killed someone." So what if Owen has the ball? I was thinking. But at the time, I was mainly thinking about my mother. I was already beginning to get angry with her for never telling me who my father was. At the time, I was only 11. I had no idea who else had attended that Little League game and that death, and who had his own reason for wanting to possess the ball that Owen Meany hit.